Hello, I'm very glad to talk to the people who are interested in the Russian situation. It's really very complex and contradictory. I want to stress this. First of all, we have stagnation in social and economic development for many years, and this is not very positive result because people after growth in the beginning of 21st century had expectations that we have this progress for the future. But after crisis 2007, 2009, only 0, -1, +2%, and this is for many years. Important content. Second, we have still growth of social polarization, and Russia is a country where gap between 10% of the rich and 10% of the poorest people is 16 times officially, 1/6, but really it's more than 20-25 times according to estimations of experts. We have wonderful results as far as oligarchs is concerned. We have first places in the world, but we still have minimum wage and many pensions under the poverty level, and this is tragedy for our people. So this is content. And this content is important. As far as economic policy is concerned, Russia is a very liberal country. This is paradox, but this is reality. It's a mixture of the free market without strong state regulation from one hand and very strong underground shadow state regulation with a lot of feudal traditions, like in monarchy. Monarchy maybe in France in the 18th century, where capitalism was determined by the king and aristocracy. More or less the same we have in our country now. Plus many features of former Soviet life, which are also still influential. As far as policy is concerned, political games in Duma are more or less games, and the results of parliamentary elections and future presidential elections are mainly determined by big money and administrative resources of state. I can ask where money does not play a big role in politics, but this is just a rhetoric question. In Russia, they play a very big role, and state control, political force is very important and very influential. That's why I think for our country the most important and interesting sphere is real life of people and the life of civil society. This is not civil society as in the West. It's not very influential, big social networks, movements, organizations, but we have real civil life. And during last elections in municipal Soviets, the name is still like in Soviet Union, Soviets, councils. We had interesting results. More than 200 people in Moscow were elected who are not representatives of ruling party, United Russia, Единая Россия, who are not candidates from administration of regions, who are not, let's say, puppets of the mayor of Moscow. And this is very interesting results. Of course, it is not majority for all Moscow, but in some regions of Moscow, we have now a majority of opposition deputies. And they have different trends. They can be more social democrats, a little bit more liberals. A lot of people are oriented on communist values, by the way. But mainly these people are real citizens. They are friends and comrades of the people who are living in this region, and they are doing something practically. This is a very interesting result. We have a strong movement in defense of education. We have permanent activity of Academy of Science, who is fighting against bureaucratic reforms. We have some independent trade unions who has terrible conditions for their life. And by the way, when we have critique of our officials from outside, typical questions are interconnected only with foreign policy. But if you ask why we don't have strikes, why we don't have real opportunities for education for poor people, why we have so big social differentiation, if Western, Eastern, I don't know, colleagues will ask these questions, they will have much more understanding among ordinary Russians. Because when it's not interesting for you, you are not interesting for ordinary people. And this is my appeal for you. Please try to put attention to the real life of ordinary people. If you will ask questions how we are living, it will be important, and it will be important for your people who are also not very happy sometimes. Thank you.